Y'all, this whole Switch 2 debacle is just insane. Um, it changes minute by minute, day by day. I want to bring you guys the most up-to-date information. I was waiting to see what happened today with the market, if there was any official news from Nintendo. If you guys didn't know about 1 p.m. today, it was official. The U.S. tariffs are, at least for everyone but China, basically being held off. Now, don't listen to some of the other naysayers out there. The Switch 2 is actually being manufactured in Vietnam and Cambodia, so the Chinese tariffs don't really affect us one bit. So that $450 price tag for the Switch 2, which I know some people were already a bit iffy on, I personally think it's kind of justified. I think 400 would be a better price point, but much like with the other Switch and basically any Nintendo product, within a year I'm sure the price will drop drastically. You're basically talking paying a premium for first generation technology. Which, if this were a Sony product or a Microsoft product, I'd be like, don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. But being a Nintendo product, I think we can believe in this product. Short of maybe Joy-Con drift, but that is what it is. They never even fixed that on the original Switch. So when it comes to the tariffs, it looks like for the next 90 days, all bets are off. So here's basically what we can kind of surmise by this. Essentially, now that $450 price point is going to be the price point we will see on June 5th when everything goes down. Now, by August, that could change. That could completely change. So if you want to get your Switch at a reasonable, I'll use massive air quotes with that, reasonable-ish price, it's a good time to order. I will be the first to say the $500 bundle is actually a much better value, but I'm a big fan of physical media, so I'm going to be holding off on buying any digital games, at least at the moment, until we find out what's actually happening with those download codes and the physical copies. Things have to hit shelves, right? I do want the new Mario Kart game, but if it is a physical copy, if it's not just a download code, which it shouldn't be. They've already announced what the size of the game is going to be. It's something like 20 gigs, and the cartridges go now up to like 64 gigs, I believe. That's what CD Projekt Red at least has told us. So there's no reason why they wouldn't put it physically on a disc. And a lot of us are starting to come around. A lot of people are starting to come around to the, I won't say necessity, but I don't know how to word it, but the fact that physical media is actually just a sincerely better way to go. So this does beg a question, though. If the Switch drops June 5th, $450, yes, I know the games are ridiculously expensive. Will you be buying a Switch? I know for a lot of us, the whole tariff debacle, thinking the Switches were going to be $500 to $600 or more dollars, really turned me personally and a lot of people off. Now, I'm in kind of a situation where it's a little bit easier for me to kind of justify the cost, being that, we've got the channel and everything, and we'll obviously be playing a lot of games on it. And I do want to see how some of those other games, specifically Scarlet and Violet, since they have that free upgrade, how they're going to perform on that new hardware. So I am trying to get my hands on day one hardware. That's 100% my big goal / way I'm going to justify the cost of that Switch. Now, $450 is a hefty sum. It really is. But I'm going to be honest with you. I put enough faith in a Nintendo product that it is going to last. I've had 2 Nintendos ever in the history of ever that have gone faulty on me. Even my original NES still works. So, the one where you push down the console and all that, a lot of people had those, the pins on the push down system go out. My SNES has a really common fault with the plug that it developed after, 20 years. So it is what it is. Back then they didn't know consoles were going to be lasting 20 years. Number 2, my Wii, unfortunately, and through no fault of Nintendo's, wasn't on a surge protector when we had a big power surge. So I think the power supply on that blew. I haven't done any troubleshooting on it, unfortunately. It's never played the Wii enough to really kind of justify that. So Nintendo hardware tends to last. I have 3 NESs. I have 4 GameCubes. I've got tons and tons and tons of Nintendo hardware, and I've never had a problem. So for me, justifying a Gen 1 console, I think I can reasonably say, I mean, my Switch is a Gen 1 Switch. I think we can reasonably say, yes, you pay your $450, sure, it will go down within a year, most likely, but not before it might go up. So that's kind of where we're at right now, is there's a distinct possibility that if you do buy in on June 5th, and a lot of people are going to, self-included, and you get that at $450, come August, come like the big holiday hype, there's a real honest-to-goodness possibility that the price of the Switch could go up by a couple $100. Like, who knows? Like, this whole thing is completely insane because we just don't know minute by minute what's going to happen in politics. And we're not a politics channel. I'm not going to get too deep into politics or my particular feels on what's happening politically. I think we can all kind of agree right now most of us are on the same page. But the reality here is we just don't know. And if Nintendo's smart, they won't announce anything at least until Monday of next week. Because, yesterday, the tariffs were on, and absolutely nothing was going to change that. And then today at 1 p.m., tariffs are off. So you just don't know. In fact, I play the stock market a little bit, and I was watching a few particular stocks, and literally in the time that I'm in the car driving down the road, running a couple of errands, my stocks went from extremely affordable to instant, like within like a 20-minute span, 10% boost. So it is what it is. Say what you will about that portion of the market. The reality is the market, if you follow the S&P and the Dow and all that, the market does like this move. And so our president is very much encouraged not to do silly things with these tariffs anymore. There's no saying he won't, but he's encouraged not to. So we will have to see what happens with all that. But barring the $90 price tag for games, barring all that other weirdness, and I think a lot of that will, the AAA games, the Nintendo games, sure, those will be $90. But the one thing that Nintendo kind of has in its back pocket, and one thing we haven't really talked about, is it's really friendly, and at least anymore, to indie devs. They have whole, Nintendo Directs for indie devs. There's going to be a lot of very affordable games, and even your old Switch games that are going to be, not all, but many are going to be backwards compatible on this system. So there are a lot of reasons to look forward to this hardware. So my question stands. That being the case, will you try to pick up your Switch at $450 before this maybe potential price hike does happen later on this summer? The frugal part of me says it would be a no-brainer to pick it up now. And I think a lot of people are kind of on that same page as me. But also, I do understand that within a year, like this time next year, you'll probably be able to get that same Switch for $50 to maybe even $100 less. So it's a real tough thing to justify, especially being that, early systems are not going to have a lot of proprietary games. Pokemon Legends ZA is specifically being created for the Nintendo Switch, not the Switch 2. There will be a Switch 2 version. But here's my one kind of concern. In seeing how Scarlet and Violet performed on the base Switch, is Legends ZA going to perform poorly as well? Is it really going to be at its best on a Switch 2 and just kind of tolerable, if even that, on a base Switch? So there's a lot of questions. My content is mostly for Pokemon, so I'm always going to wrap it back around to that whole Pokemon question. But my question remains, are you going to attempt to buy a Switch day one, or are you going to wait, or are you just flat out $450 is too much, it's ridiculous? Let me know in the comments. But we'll see. Things could change. For all we know, tomorrow is a new day, and who knows what flights of fancy could reasonably change tomorrow. Yeah, it's just exhausting. It's just truly exhausting.